Welcome to the Lemons and Pineapples podcast. I'm your host, Emma O'Brien, personal development coach, HeartMath practitioner, dog photographer, and entrepreneur. In this podcast, I share tools, strategies, and amazing guest interviews to help you improve your mindset and your well-being with a sprinkle of fun and probably some mention of dogs along the way. So without further ado, let's squeeze the day. Hi folks, welcome to episode 68 of the podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about how to learn from the things that piss you off in life, also known as your triggers. And I think this is such an important conversation to be having because this is something that so many people, myself included, have to deal with on a daily basis. We open social media and we see things that trigger us. We open Facebook, we'll see things that trigger us. You might open the newspaper, listen to the radio, you might have a phone call from somebody. And if we allow external circumstances to influence us heavily, we are often going to be very triggered. So let's just talk for a moment about exactly what it means to be triggered. So what I'm talking about here is something happens or you observe something, and that circumstance that you observe sets off a thought pattern, and that thought pattern sets off an emotion within you. And you have that emotion, and that emotion is what drives you to take a particular action. So we have this model: circumstances, thoughts, feelings, actions. And when you start to become aware of this, you can take your power back from being at the mercy of having your mood ruined by external things, which are going to be coming at you. As long as you've got your eyes open and you're conscious, there's going to be external things coming at you the whole time. So I just wanted to go through an example of how one can take a situation that is triggering and use it as a catalyst for doing some inner work. If you listened to episode 67, that was a podcast episode all about growth work, using the Enneagram as a tool, which is really, really powerful. And the only way we evolve as people and we get better as people and we are able to cope better with life is by doing inner work. It's self-development work, personal growth work, spiritual journeys, whatever you want to call it. It's when we work on ourselves, we're able to show up better and actually get more enjoyment out of this human existence that we have. So if we take this model of circumstances, thoughts, feelings, and actions, and see how it might play out and how you can use it as an opportunity to do some growth work, this is going to be really, really helpful for you if you are somebody who is aware that you are triggered quite often and you'll spend a lot of your time in a reactive state, which is unpleasant. A, it's very stressful. B, having a nervous system that's activated all the time is not only feels horrible, it's very bad for you. So let's say you open Facebook and you see that a mutual friend, somebody you know, maybe they're not a bestie, has got married. And you look at that and the immediate thought is, how on earth has she got married with a nose that's that enormous? How has she found a husband and I haven't? Throwing it as an example, I have an enormous nose and I've just got married. So, and the opening of Facebook and seeing the picture of somebody getting married has triggered a series of thoughts that are coming up in your mind. And when we're triggered, those thoughts are usually unpleasant and unkind and negative. And those thoughts then bring up feelings. So you've had the thought about how on earth has she got married? And what might come up is jealousy, envy, anger, general unkindness. And that will start to feed the thought loop you are having. And you might have been tootling through your day perfectly fine before that. And then all of a sudden, your mood has completely flipped and you're in a very, very bad headspace. Now, you might do a number of things off the back of that trigger. You might write a snide comment on that page. I hope you wouldn't, but maybe you would if you were that triggered. You might phone another friend and then start bitching about this person and having a whole conversation and just something that fuels the real negativity. And then you're both going to be left feeling pretty foul afterwards, and you've been very unkind about somebody else. So this is how just literally one thing that you have seen leads to a whole chain of events that can effectively completely, ruin your day, derail your day, and put you into a very negative headspace. So I'll offer an alternative for you here when something like that happens. And this happens to everybody in one shape or another. It might happen to you at work. Somebody might get promoted over you and it sets off it's very triggering. Somebody might earn more money than you. Somebody might have a bigger house, all sorts of things. Whatever it is for you, you can use what I'm going to share to actually start to work on yourself when things come up that trigger negative thoughts and feelings from you. So the thing is to have a look at is to notice you have been triggered. And this takes a level of self-awareness of being able to understand what's happening physically. Often you might have a feeling before you have a thought, or you might have a thought and then have a feeling. I mean, we're talking kind of fraction of a second reaction times internally with these things. If you can notice that something has been triggered within you physically and start to sit with, ooh, that doesn't feel very nice. What is it I'm feeling and where is it? And if it's jealousy, you can start to think, I'm feeling really jealous. And you can start to notice the thoughts are coming up. I'm having really unkind thoughts about this poor person who's just sharing that she's got married on Facebook, and all of a sudden, you're in your mind, you're ripping the woman apart. And you can start to write these thoughts down and then write the feelings down that are coming up as well. And then we can start to question them. Why am I feeling jealous? Why? What is it about this situation that is triggering something within me to feel jealous? It might be that you are single and have been really wanting to meet somebody and it's just not working out for you. And actually what's underneath that is seeing someone else getting married triggers a feeling of jealousy, which is understandable in that scenario. But what's really underneath that? And what that's could be about is that you fear being alone for the rest of your life, because you start to think, well, maybe no one's ever going to want to marry me. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not attractive enough. And you can start to notice the thoughts that are underneath the initial jealousy thought and start to have a look at what is really happening here. And if that imaginary train of thought I've just given you is correct, there are a lot of self-worth pieces in there. There are possibly some confidence pieces in there. There's possibly some loneliness in there. There will be lots of other things underneath the initial, very powerful triggered feeling of jealousy. And when you can learn to sit with those difficult feelings and see, what are they pointing me to? What are they trying to tell me about myself that I'm perhaps not listening to, don't want to listen to, don't want to look at, because it's hard? And when you can start to have a look at that, you'll realize that actually the way you're feeling is nothing to do with the poor person who's just got married on Facebook. It's about what's happening internally for you. And then you can choose to take a different course of action. So maybe it's that if we go back to the example of being single and you'd really like to meet somebody and you're feeling quite lonely, is how could you find more connection to soothe that loneliness? It's difficult being single and being alone when you don't want to be. It's hard. So how can you find more connection? Maybe you could reach out to a friend and you could go spend some more time with some of your your friends. Maybe it's that you give online dating a go again. Maybe you try a different online dating site. Maybe you ask some friends and say, you know, I'd really like to get out more and socialize with people more. I mean, I think that's really quite difficult in this world we live in that's all online. It is hard. We don't see people enough. And could you change that? And can you use the feelings that you have uncovered from the trigger to take some different action that's going to take you in a different direction in your life? Remember that the old adage of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Being triggered by somebody on Facebook, phoning a friend, being horrible, gossiping doesn't move you any closer to getting what that person has that you want as well. Doing something different will do. And this is a journey that doesn't really end. I think inner work, self-development work, once you start on the journey, it continues, but it gets easier as you start to understand yourself better. And as you start to notice and become more self-aware of what's going on, then you can start to be curious about when you're triggered. I've had a look at that and, ooh, I don't feel very nice. I've got a whole load of really revolting thoughts that are erupting from within my mind, and I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling jealous, I'm feeling upset, whatever you're feeling. What is that telling me about myself? And where is there an opportunity for me to dig a bit deeper into that, learn something about myself, and do something different? So there are a few options here. This is work you can do on your own for, I don't know the word, easy triggers. Some triggers are things that are deeply traumatic, and that is when I would suggest, if you are finding yourself overly reactive and very triggered by perhaps kind of seemingly mundane things, it might be the opportunity to go and do some therapy to dig into that. I think there's huge power in working with a psychologist to help understand yourself better so you can take different action going forwards. It might be that it is not so kind of deep rooted that you could work with a coach. This is work I love doing with clients, is to start to dig into, okay, this person keeps triggering you. What are they triggering in you? You can't change the other person, but you can change yourself. That's where the power comes in with the coaching work I do with clients. So I hope this has been helpful and some food for thought. You're going to hear me talking more about inner work and personal development work on the podcast, because I just think it's so powerful to go on this journey. And once you start, it's this wonderful peeling back layers of yourself, understanding more and more and more about yourself. And when we understand more about ourselves and what drives us, we're also able to be a little bit more compassionate about other people, because often we're encountering other people in our daily lives who are also being triggered a lot of the time. And when you've got two sets of people who are in a stressed, emotional, negative state, the outcome is never going to be good. But when you're able to just take a step back and just come at it and think, how might this be feeling for that person? It's completely game changing. It's game changing for your relationships. It's game changing for your state of mind. And it's a game changer for reducing your stress levels. So you can be more present and you can have more fun in this earthly existence. So I hope that's been helpful. As always, if you want to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram at Emma O'Brien Coach. Pop me a DM. I'd love to hear from you. And if you are listening on the day this podcast comes out, this is the last day, Friday, the 31st of May, to get an uplift coaching session and save £200. You can book an uplift session for just £295 until the end of today. Otherwise, you can book a session with me. It'll be £495 to book a once-off intensive session with me. And this is an amazing opportunity to really dig deep about what's going on, uncover more about yourself, and get started on a personal development journey, which will be an absolute game changer. Until next week, I will see you again. Have a good one, folks. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you've enjoyed it, please share with your friends and be sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review, especially if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. To find out more about my one-on-one coaching, please visit my website, which is emmaobriencoach.com. And remember, folks, when life gives you lemons, you can always choose another fruit. See you next time.